Hey guys, it's Sano, and it's currently 10:50 a.m. and I just kind of felt like recording something. um, it's been a very interesting week, and I feel like I guess I've been thinking a lot this week for no particular reason, and I guess a lot of it has been really unnecessarily destructive, I feel like. Maybe not destructive, I don't even know if that's the right word, but I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about, like, I don't know, I guess the way that other people see me, and I wanted to make a video about it, because, that is kind of my job. This will be the first of, I don't know, maybe I'll make this into a series where I just, I don't know, talk about things once a week and play Black Ops Zombies while I do it. Because for some reason, this is the most relaxing thing to me. Who knows why? But yeah, I just wanted to, I guess, I don't know, think through my thoughts in a way that I don't know. I've always felt like I'm much more comfortable whenever I'm recording a thing. Maybe that's reverse parasocialism. I don't even know. But I'm here, so I'm gonna talk. Basically, what I've been, I guess, going through is, I guess, a lot of doubt for, I guess, both unnecessary and, or I guess not unnecessary, I guess reasonable and unreasonable doubt I've been going through a lot of recently. Right now, I'm in a spot where my streams have kind of stagnated in terms of viewership, and I feel like I'm really harshly beating myself up about that, when I really don't think I should be, per se, because I mean, I'm doing a lot of things right with my streams. Like, I can see that, and just objectively, like, that's what people have said about them, and I know that, like, my streams aren't bad, per se. Like, a lot of people have said that I'm particularly entertaining during them, and I'd like to think that they're telling the truth, but it's like, it's one of those things where even if you know, like, realistically, something is one way, you sort of convince yourself that it's another, and I'm not really sure why that's happening, and that's, I guess, what I'm trying to get to the bottom of, because, like, I don't know, it's just, it's one of those things where I feel like I should feel happy, I should feel excited, because a lot of good things are happening. Like, just the other day, or just yesterday, I had a TikTok that hit like 5,000 views. That was the first time any of my TikToks have ever gotten more than, like, I think 500 views, and it was 10 times my old peak. So I mean, I should be happy about that, and I've started working on a lot of really cool things, and like the model is really good. There's going to be an update to it, and I've booked all my tickets for TwitchCon, and that's finally gonna happen, which is an absolute dream come true. But yet, for some reason, like, I just don't feel right, I guess. And I think a part of that is, as of recently, part of it is just this time of year, a lot of people are very busy, and a lot of people are usually adjusting to things this time of year. And so a lot of times people are a lot quieter, and that's both in terms of viewership and just in talking to people. And this is something I do need to work on, but I've sort of, like, I don't know, come to expect, like, waking up to, like, messages or notifications, which is, I mean, in all logic, it's kind of toxic, because, I mean, like, I feel like my mood has come to depend on whether or not I wake up and see that people have, like, I don't know, just thought about me, and it's a very self-centered way of thinking, and I don't know why that's, like, kind of where my mind's at right now, but it just is, and it's something that I need to work on, and I feel like by just ignoring it, nothing's really gonna happen, so here I am trying to address it. But yeah, it's become a thing where I feel like I've grown a lot as a person and as a creator, and I've met a lot of really cool people. And I talked to one of my friends about this recently, where it's like, I gotta be okay with the fact that, like, some people are just gonna be acquaintances, whereas other people are gonna be friends. But even recently, I felt like a lot of friends just, like, haven't been... I guess I haven't been having the back and forth with them that I used to. And it's kind of just making me think, like, oh, I must have, like, done something wrong, or I must have upset this person, when that might not be the case. And I feel like that sense of not knowing if I did something wrong, that's what's kind of hurting me the most right now. Because I feel like that's always been, like, I don't want to say I'm afraid of the unknown, because I'm very much a type of person, I do like to embrace the unknown the vast majority of the time. But I guess, specifically in relation to people, I think I am quite afraid of the unknown. And I think that stems from a lot of stuff, like, even back when I was a kid. I mean, because, like, as a kid, I dealt with a lot of, like, your standard, you know, like, caring a lot about what other people think, bullying, all that stuff. And I'm not gonna just sit here and make a sob story about that. Like, it's all very much in the past. But I think that being in such a new environment, and in all reality being extremely new to VTubing, like, because in terms of the grand scheme, I've only been doing this for a bit over a month now. Like, I debuted last month, which is still crazy to think about. And I guess it's just being in such a new environment, it's just got my nerves going crazy, and, like, both looking forward to, and I wouldn't say I'm scared of TwitchCon. I don't think that's the right way to put it. I would say that I'm more just... I don't know what to expect. Like, I've never been to something like this. I've never been in a, like, such a place of potential opportunity in my life. And I feel like because of that, like, just the thought of anything could happen here, like, I could achieve the greatest things I've ever done, or I could do nothing and just, I don't know, sit on a random beach and be bored. Like, I feel like that sense of not knowing which is gonna happen is what's really just got my nerves on fire right now. And it is, like, in a lot of ways, it is weirdly comforting, because I feel like since I am nervous, I guess that's sort of a way of telling myself that this is something that could be incredible. Like, I could change completely as a person through this one event. And there's a lot of opportunity for change. I could meet some incredible people. Like, I was talking to one of my mods the other day, and they mentioned that a lot of the people that they know who are very close became much closer friends during TwitchCon. And I think that I'm the type of person where I want to say that I don't care about what other people think of me, but in all reality, I think I really, really do. And I'm not really sure where that came from, because I think for the longest time, that wasn't the case. For the longest time, it was the case, and then I grew out of it, and then all of a sudden, it's become the case again. And I'm not really sure why that is. I think part of it could definitely be just the fact that content is, like, something that I've never cared about anything more than I do about content creation. Like, it's what I want to do with my life. And I think because of that, that's why I've got, like, all these nerves about it, and I'm sort of telling myself, like, I have to make a good impression on every other creator that I meet, because, like, at this point, like, I look up to everyone. Like, I'm that new to this. And it's sort of, it is scary in a lot of ways. Because it's so many unknowns that it's daunting. It is. It's very daunting. And I guess just not knowing what other people think just not knowing whether you've done something wrong, because I feel like VTubing in particular is one sphere where people are, for better or worse, they're not very honest about like telling people their thoughts about them, which it's a kind of an interesting thing, at least to me, because I feel like in a lot of spheres you would, I guess, expect people to be very like mean and open about if they are upset with you, whereas in VTubing I feel like the vast majority of people are too like scared or nervous like say if they're upset with you, which in some senses could be good, but I feel like in a lot of ways it also, at least to me, can be damaging, because like I don't know, and I think it's that feeling of not knowing that's just like it's painful, it's odd. Moving past that, there's also been a lot of issues with stream lately, and in addition to just not getting the viewership that I would have, I guess, expected, it's also just, I just had troubles in terms of getting everything working, which I don't know if that's like a sign. I don't know if I've ever talked about this. I mention like signs a lot, and I'll probably mention it more during this. I'm not a very like I'm not a religious person, but I have always felt that like sometimes the world will just like throw signs at you, and I don't know if I'm just like reading into them, and maybe I shouldn't do that, but I don't know. That's just food for thought. But yeah, streams have just felt off lately, and like during my streams I'll think to myself like, oh, am I being entertaining enough? Like, am I doing enough? Am I doing anything right? And then like I'll look back on the stream and it'll like, I'll be pretty entertaining. Like I'll have a good rate of talking. I'll be doing pretty much everything right that I can. And so I don't know why like I'm sort of convincing myself that I'm just like the worst at this imaginable. I guess because I compare myself a lot to those around me, which is a perfectly normal thing. I feel like every creator, every person honestly does that. And while I think it does have some ground in terms of like, I guess it can be useful to compare yourself to others, because I feel like you can reflect on what other people are doing and try to use that to sort of improve yourself. But I think I've become almost too cruel with it, because like I'll look at somebody who has been like, I guess, maybe doing content for as long as me, and they're light years ahead of where I am. Or it could just be like a random person. I have no idea how long they've been doing it. But like I look at these people who are doing significantly better than me, and I just like, I can't seem to figure out why that is, when I feel like, I mean, I think in this sphere of content, that whole idea of, how do I word this? I think because of how different content is for everybody in terms of those who make it and in terms of those who consume it, it's very easy to, like, it makes sense that when you look at someone else, you get confused as to why they do well. Because it's almost impossible to really know what makes one person particularly successful, because of the fact that, like, each person is successful for different reasons. Like, there's not one set formula for how to be good at this. It's more of a just, you kind of have to find your own way through it. And it's tough, because I don't think, in all honesty, there will ever be truly a guide to how to make content. Like, I think it's one of those paths, I think it's one of those careers that there's never really gonna be a right way to do it. I mean, there are certainly wrong ways to do it, but I mean, even then, there's a lot of gray area, and a lot of people disagree on what's considered like right and wrong in terms of making content. And I just feel like, I don't know, it's become such a thing that I think about constantly that I feel like I'm almost thinking about it unnecessarily when, based on like every person I've talked to, the best thing I can do is just focus on making the things that I want to make, and the rest will happen naturally. Like that's what everyone says, right? Just make the things you love making. And I even say that too. Like I'm just like, I just want to make the things that I want to make. But then there's also that thought in my head that I also need to make stuff that'll work, because otherwise I'm just not going to get anywhere. And I guess it's like, I'm sort of at that in-between point where I need something that will push me forward. And then, because I guess there are like certain stages, right? And I'm in that stage where I'm still kind of figuring stuff out. Because once I get to around like 50 or... I would need to basically like double or triple my current numbers. And then that's when you kind of get into the zone where it's much easier to do kind of whatever you want. I guess, how do I explain this? Let me talk about this in terms of like Markiplier, right? He's someone that I reference a lot. He's someone I talk about a lot. He's someone I look up to a lot. One thing for him is that like he started out doing horror, and from there he grew as a person. And once he had that base audience, then he was able to branch out and do a lot more variety stuff. And I guess that's kind of what I need to do. I need to figure out my my niche in order to grow my audience to a point where I can, I guess, carry forward with them and kind of venture out into new things. Because as much as I want to be able to just make whatever and, I guess, have it work, I just don't know if that's the case. Like, who knows, right? Like, I could blow up on shorts or something tomorrow. It could happen overnight, and all of these thoughts could just be completely fruitless. But I don't know if that will happen, and so I have to prepare for the scenario where it doesn't, which means that I need to just figure out some other way of getting my name out there. Because, like, I've met a lot of incredible people. A lot of people who are, I guess I would say, like, industry professionals, right? And, like, it's very difficult to tell their journey, like, just from talking to them. Because, like, it's so easy to look at someone else and be like, oh, they were always that massive. No one was always that massive. Like, your biggest creators in the world, they didn't start out being these absolute giants that just, they could post a fucking video of, I don't know, a frog, and it could get 2 million views. Like, it didn't start like that. And I guess I've somehow gotten it into my head that they did. And I don't really know why. Because, I mean, just thinking about it objectively, I know that this is all part of a journey, and I do believe and I know that I can make it. It's just so much, and maybe this is something else I talked with one of my friends about, is that I think it's also the fact that I'm just going through a part of life that's just full of questions. Like, I'm only 19, and I'm at that point in my life where I'm a young adult. I now have access to the whole world. The whole world's at my fingertips. And it's a lot. It is a lot. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot of unknowns, and there's really nothing I can, I guess, do about it. And so really the best thing I can do is just experience stuff. Just do things, get out there, and I guess try to find meaning in the things that I do. And that doesn't mean, like, I, like, find meaning. Like, I don't mean find meaning in the sense that, like, because I do think that I have found meaning in the things that I create. But I guess, like, finding further meaning, you know? It's just a lot of thought. It's a lot of thought right now. And I don't know. I want to make the best things I possibly can. Like, that's what I want to do baseline. baseline, the thing I care about is making stuff and inspiring other people to create stuff. And just having fun with it and living the life that I want to live. But it's just figuring out how to get there that's tough. You know, it's so many moving parts. It's so much just never knowing what the right answer is. It's never knowing what the right move is. Because I feel like I've been in that, like, position for so long in life where there was always a way to go, right? Like, there was always a path. There was usually a right thing to do. Whereas with what I do now, there's not. There's not a correct thing to do. There's not a proper formula. There's not a, I guess, there's not a guarantee of anything ever. And I think that's something that I'm not used to at all. And I think that's a big part of why I've become so anxious with the things that I make. Like, I feel like every single time that I upload something, my nerves go crazy, and I'm like, God, is it gonna flop? Is it gonna do well? Is there a reason that it will flop or do well? Because, like, I'll look at someone like Pirate Software where, like, he's been making the same stuff, and then just out of nowhere, it decided to blow up. So, like, there's a part of me saying that maybe I am making all the right things, but it's just, like, the algorithm not hitting or something like that. Like, it's all unknowns, and I feel like those unknowns scare me. They scare me a lot more than I would like to admit. It's so much that I didn't expect. Like, I feel like, I don't know why, but in some ways, I almost expected everything to just kind of work out, which doesn't make sense, right? Like, there's never, ever been a guarantee. There's never been a, like, there's no logical reason for that to be what I'm thinking, you know? And so I don't know why that is, I guess, what I've gotten my head wrapped around. But it is, and that's something I need to change. Because otherwise, I mean, I'm not going to get anywhere just by thinking about stuff, right? Like, at some point, I have to take action. I have to do stuff. I have to keep moving forward. Like, I can't, just because I'm having all these thoughts, that doesn't mean I can just stop making stuff, or it doesn't mean I can stop streaming or stop doing anything. It just means that it might be harder, or it might be, I might just have more questions, and that's just gonna be the way that it is. Like, no one ever said that this was gonna be easy. No one ever said that this was gonna be like some walk in the park. I always knew that this wasn't gonna be an easy time. And I guess it's a matter of making sure that I always remember that I don't just convince myself that, like, everything's going wrong for some other reason. Like, I have to keep in mind that this is my journey, and it's going to be different from everyone else's. It's going to be different from yours watching this. It's going to be full of unknowns. Everything is going to be full of unknowns. And that's just the way it's going to be. That's the way life's going to be. There's no guarantees of anything ever. And I just feel like I'm getting closer and closer to accepting these things. Like, I don't expect myself to, I guess, have revelations of exactly what I need to do, when I need to do it, like, overnight. I don't expect that to happen. But I guess the thing that I'm hoping for is that I can just do my best, you know, and make progress when I make it, and then when I do make that progress, that I can be proud of myself for it. Like, I guess that's what I want to keep in mind. Like, I want to never forget to still be proud of the accomplishments that I do make. Because, like, something like getting 5,000 views on a TikTok. Like, that's something that I should be proud of. And I don't want to forget that. I don't want to forget to be proud of myself and be proud of my accomplishments and the things that I did. Because in the end, like, these are my accomplishments, and I need to be happy with those, because otherwise I'm just like, otherwise, like, what's the point, right? Like, I could just sit all day and be sad that I guess I'm not doing the best in the world, but I could also be happy for where I am, you know? And that's what I want to do. Is just, I guess, be happy about where I am and the things that I do accomplish. Because, like, even if a stream isn't, like, above average, because, like, I feel like right now what I want is I want my streams to be getting, like, at least 20 viewers, but they haven't been lately. And I still want to be happy, even if, like, even if I don't hit those goals. And I guess I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Like, how to figure out being content, even if not only I don't do as well as I want, but not even as well as I expected. Because I guess that's where I am right now, right? Like, I think for offline content, it's doing better than I expected, but for my streams, they're not doing even as well as I expected. And I guess that's what's kind of tearing me up right now a bit, is just I feel like I'm doing good in one thing and doing bad in another, and I think that's what I'm feeling in a lot of different ways, in a lot of different places. And I think that's what's affecting me the most, is just that, like, that mix of feelings. Because I feel like if it was I feel like if it was all bad, right, like if all of my content wasn't doing well, then it's much easier to look at that objectively and be like, okay, there's got to be, like, something that I'm doing wrong, or there's got to be something going on here. Like, it's much easier to talk about. It's much easier to think about. But because that's not the case, because it's such a mixed bag of success and failure, I guess I just don't know what to do, right? Because I think that, like, failure as just objectively is an opportunity to learn, right? And so when my streams don't do well, I want to figure out why they're not doing well, and not knowing why they're not doing well is kind of the painful part. Because, like, it'd be different if people came into my chat, or, like, I talked to a friend and they were like, yeah, your audio is not great, or your bitrate is doing something weird, or you're just not talking enough, or your model is doing this, or whatever it may be. Like, if there was, like, definitively something that I was doing wrong, I think I would be much... I don't want to say happier, but I feel like I would be much more... I guess... I would feel like there's more that I could do. Whereas right now, I just don't know what to do, because I don't know what's wrong. And it could be that there's nothing wrong. It could just be that I'm on a downtrot right now. Like, I just don't know. And that's just a very odd thing to me. Just that not knowing what is the problem, I guess. I think that's a really good way of putting it, actually, is it's not knowing the problem that is causing so much harm. Because I feel like just overall, like, I think just people in general are very problem-oriented. Like, a lot of times people are very reactionary. Like, you see this in so many places. Like, you see it with governments, you see it with, like, any group of people. Like, people react to things. So, like, if something bad happens, then you can take that, be like, okay, what was this bad thing? How can I fix it? But if nothing is necessarily wrong, and yet you're still seeing, like, a negative change, it becomes, like, so difficult to address that. Because it just seems like magic at that point. It's like, why is this not going the way that it should? Like, based on everything that I know, this should be going one way, and yet it's not. And that's just like, it's the weirdest thing. And I think that's also like, again, part of like me having a background in engineering. Like, it's a very problem solving oriented mindset. Like, I've been in that problem solving mindset for most, if not all of my life. Like, I've done engineering and robotics for more than a decade. And I think that definitely has both its ups and downs when it comes to making content, because I think that having that problem-solving mindset, it can be helpful, but in this case, it's also like just super detrimental because I'm trying to solve a problem. Like, I think what's really going on is that I'm trying to solve a problem that's not actually there. Like, I'm trying to... Or maybe it's just that, like, I'm trying to make myself think that there is a problem when there's none there. It's just, I'm trying to find reason, right? I'm just trying to find reason for what's going on. I'm trying to find the logic. Like, that's the path that I always take. Like, anytime I'm fixing hardware or there's a problem with my computer, or like back during robotics, if there was anything wrong with the robot, like, there was always a reason for it. Like, it was always because of the fact that it was a machine. Like, anytime something was going wrong, there was a reason. Whether or not it was hard to find or easy to find, there always was a reason. Whereas I feel like now that I deal in people and like entertainment, there might not be a reason for a lot of things. And that's just, it's tough. It's very tough. And I think it's a transition that's gonna take a lot of time. But at the same time, like, I don't know if that's something... Like, I don't want to get rid of that aspect of me, because I feel like in a lot of ways that could still be very useful. Because, like, let's say content evolves and I end up running a business through what I do. Or something like that. Like, whatever it may be, I feel like having the ability to solve problems is gonna be useful. And so I don't want to just, like, rid myself of that. Instead, I just want to understand it more. I want to understand, I guess, content and also myself more. Just understand where all of these thoughts are coming from and I guess what I can do about them. And there might not be things that I can do about them. Like, a lot of this might just be something I have to live with. And that's just gonna take acceptance. And I think that TwitchCon is gonna be really nice for a lot of these things, because I'll be able to hang out with a lot of people who have been through this. Like, that's one thing that I am very grateful for, is the fact that it's sort of a double-edged sword, right? Because I guess the thing that I want to mention is the majority of the people that I talk to, and the majority of, I guess, creators are a lot older than me. Or not a lot older than me, but most of them are older than me. And I feel like that serves a dual purpose. Because it's both difficult because it's harder to relate to people, but then in a lot of ways it's also better because I can learn from a lot of these people. And I feel like I have, and I look forward to learning more from them. It's just a lot to think about. And I don't think I'll ever really know the answers to a lot of these things, but I feel like as long as I keep going, then I'll be able to find something. Like, as long as I just keep making stuff, as long as I keep talking to people and just, like, keep being myself. Because I think that's the last thing that I want to do, right? Is, I guess, beat myself up so much that I change to the point where I'm just not really me anymore. And I feel like that is, like, one of my greatest fears, right? Is that I'll essentially just think myself to death, just trying to solve problems that aren't there. And that is definitely something that I am afraid of. But at the same time, it's all part of the process, so I guess what am I gonna do about it? I think that's a good way to end it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. I might do more of these in the future. Who knows? I like talking. I like yapping, and yeah. I hope you guys can, I guess, look at this and just, I don't know, reflect as well. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, and I'll see all of you guys next time. Bye-bye!